Right.
He taught me most of what I know. And this is James McMichael. He's a heralded person. Even more so now, right?
What just happened to Susan at the end there, she's referred to as being in the middle of being moved.
Yes.
Kind of in the same place. It's so absurdly obvious for me to say that I'm glad that at some point in the fall of 1938, my parents decided they would touch one another. And all of that is something that if I think of it in terms of myself being one person and assigning myself the number one, and then thinking about how, as a newborn, I'm entirely dependent for my life for 20 months of gestation outside of my mother's body, then I, as one, cannot survive without a second person, that person who takes care of me for that time that my brain is expanding to the size it needs to be. Back behind me as one is that zero. There was nothing of me at the time that they conceived me, clearly. There's no way that I could have had any effect on that except as being someone they were willing to conceive. And so I thought of the simple arithmetic of that zero preceding conception, and then the number one as the newborn, and two as the mother. And so in the poem that I'll read, the zero, the one, and the two are subtitles, which I'll read in the course of reading the poem. And the poem is called Pretty Blue Apron, which I was told was my first phrase. Zero. In the separate histories of wanting rights, zero doesn't count. Nothing had happened yet. Zero. Then it had. There was placental discharge and infusion. These didn't follow one another as the night, the day. There wasn't time. With nothing private for it, undeprived, the fetus took in everything as one, without one and between, without once knowing it was only one. It got born alive, and there one was, one, a positive and whole number. Into all one's chances, one unfolds head first. God only knows the start it gives one. One has toes. Reaching for their lost water, each wiggle of them squeezes through a one-way pinhole in time. It's too much for one to tell that there's an outside. The heart can't swell anymore toward it and caves back in, starts over into every moth-thump mortal quaver it has left. For all one can do about it, which is zero, one stays two, proper to two. No two, no one. There's second person fostering out there somewhere, or one leaves. Two could hardly bear for one to have to go without. Born to see and be seen, one sees two's face. Two smiles as she nurses. When the nipple slips away and isn't there for a while, two's face is there. There is either of two's nipples, two's one face. Between one's wanting and the two that gives, there is a place for things to happen. Is that look happening that one so wants? To lack it takes up one time, two looks, and it arrives just at one's body at time too. All's well again, until, again, pressed forward so that now again, almost before one lacks it, one's moved out of the good. Where is she, that good slaking mother? This one is looking now again. That's better. Good. One's own smile shows and hers sent back to one, and so on. After long enough, there aren't two mothers anymore. There's one whose badness one says no to, as one also says, you papa, you blue apron, you my lamb. The poem is called Above the Red Deep Water Clays. Capacity is both how much a thing holds and how much it can do. From a solid, magnetized, and very hot core, the earth suffers itself to be turned outside. Closest to its heart are the deepest submarine trenches and sinks. Its lava finds clefts there in the old uplifted crust, the ocean floor a scramble. Wrapping at depth huge shield volcanoes, the North Atlantic down and up wells, its denser layers making room behind them through the blue-green shortest wavelengths of light. Inside the cubic yards it levies, league by league, respiring, budgeting its heat. It hides its samenesses of composition through and through. For the normal water level, an ideal solitary wave is surplus. Any wave's speed is what it is, only if reversing it would render it still. Surfaces are almost without feature at sea disturbance number 1. When the wind stretches them, their wrinkling gives it more to hold on to. 3 is multiplying whitecaps. Spray blows in well-marked streaks at 6. In the foam-spewed rolling swell that takes a higher number, small and medium ships may be lost to view for a long time. Waves are additive, doming up on the tidal bulge into a storm's barometric low. The distances between them widen, as from the Iceland Faroes massif leeward, or another 300 miles southeast, they build on bluff. Little enough for them, the first outlying Gabo islets and stacks. These are not yet the British countryside in pictures, not yet the shoals off Arran in the Firth of Clyde.
I would just like to say I think it's been a great privilege to have our guests here from the States and hearing such excellent poems. And actually, I was sitting there thinking, just for a small moment there, how much smaller the Atlantic has become. So, thanks Vicky, thanks Jim and Susan, thanks my fellow poets, and thank you for all of you for coming along and making this a really important night for all of us. Thanks very much and stay home.